Cheers, everybody. Welcome into the second edition, the second ever episode of Bourbon on a Budget. If you're tuned in, it's again probably because you love bourbon as much as we do, or you're trying to get into it. But either way, we're happy to have you. Guys, Brennan, Ben, week 2. We made it a week and nobody's quit yet. Nobody's drinking themselves to death either. So we would advise that to continue. How are you guys doing this evening?
I'm still waiting to get paid. It's an awkward conversation to have on air, though. Cheers. Hello.
Yeah, doing great over here. You know, ready for a big week. I'm excited. Let's start drinking.
Super exciting. Let's get right into it. What are you guys drinking tonight? Hopefully, you have upgraded from the coffee and water that you two sissies were drinking last week.
I have, and I was. Well, I don't want to speak for Ben. He may still be a sissy, but this is what I'm working on this week. You guys see this?
Buddy.
Okay. I'm whipping it out tonight. I'm fancy. I have been more or less off the wagon or on the wagon, but I've been sober for 4 or 5 days as I got a vaccine. So I'm getting to the Bardstown Discovery Series number 4. It's something I talked about the previous week in our Pursuits and Purchases, letting it open up a little bit. So I got it here in the glass. I'm very intrigued to see what happens here in the next 30 minutes or so as we get into it, but the nose is pretty lovely and it's getting better as it opens up by the minute.
Man, I am excited about that. I am also excited about my Sazerac Rye. One of my favorites. Go to.
One of like 20 bottles that he has too, if I'm not mistaken.
I cannot confirm, but yes.
Man, I'm jealous of Ben's Sazerac Rye. I mean, I've got like 4 bottles of it, but I kind of wish I would have gone and poured that too, because that fits the episode. We're going to get a little bit into the Buffalo Trace line and distillery in a few minutes, but I am drinking a Knob Creek. I'm not very good at this camera thing, but Knob Creek single barrel. Talked about them last week, but it's a Lucan store pick. It's a 9-year-old, 120 proof. So anyway, checking that out. I also have the same bottle, same age statement. Actually, this one's a 10-year. I lied. From Corona Cigar in Orlando. So that's another pick. After I have my first one from Lucan's, I'm going to have my second one from Corona. And I will let you guys – it's not an official review, but you get like a free review. I'll let you know which one I liked better. You don't get points, but I'll let you know which one was better. And if you're ever over at my house, you can request that one if they're not gone yet. So
you're inviting strangers just to make sure you're inviting strangers to your house to.
I said if you're ever over. I mean, I didn't give an address. I didn't say what was happening.
All right. Just making sure we're on the same page.
We have started and have active social medias now. Before we get into the show, you can go to @BudgetBourbon, or is it @BourbonBudget? Brendan, help me out here. What's going on here?
I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it up on the Twitter right now.
You started these. I need to know what the heck is going on. We have social medias. We have Twitter, Instagram. It is @BourbonBudget, and you should go check it out for sure. And let's hang out there. When we say stupid things or we mess up or Brendan is awkward, shout out Trey Rowland to the formerly known as the Rollcast. When those things
Trey.
Yeah. When those things happen, please go to our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let us know how upset you are with us. No, but for real, it is a great place to engage. We've seen a great growth on all 3 platforms. We're well over 500 Twitter followers, well over 100 Instagram followers as of this taping. And Facebook is a little slower, but is taking off as well. Again, go to and search Bourbon on a Budget, and you'll find us on all 3. Subscribe on YouTube, which is probably where you're watching this. And, man, we're excited. Just in week 2, but we're excited about the growth already. We haven't even put an episode out at the time of this recording, but we're excited to get into it. Guys, we talked about this. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Trace line, their distillery. In part 2 of this episode, we're going to review Buffalo Trace. So super excited about that. We're going to get into some of the history of their distillery. Ben and I had some fun tasting some Peerless and some Basil Hayden that we're going to talk about a little bit later as well. We'll update you on Pursuits and Purchases. If we have time, we'll jump into some listener questions. We've got a jam-packed episode, so let's get it started. Ben, we hung out last Friday. Ben and I, and we've talked about this, Ben and I we graduated high school together. We are notorious for like Friday afternoon at like 4 o'clock being like, hey, what are you doing tonight? All right, come over, let's drink, so it's happened the last several weeks in a row.
Yes.
It'll probably have, I mean, do you have plans this Friday? It'll probably happen this week too. So it happens.
Probably.
It happens very often. we got into some Peerless and some Basil Hayden. Let's start with the Peerless, Ben. We tried 3 different picks, and give the people your thoughts on, what went down and how it all went down with the Peerless bourbon and rye that we tasted.
Yeah, so we tried a lot of different Peerless this week. It would actually be my first time actually sampling any of their bourbon or ryes. What was really neat is TJ had 3 different Peerless picks. One was like their main distribution, and then 2 barrel picks. And they were pretty much throughout 2 different years. So I was able to try a lot of very similar bourbons, but also from 2 different picks. So you're able to kind of taste the differences of what store owners would like to be selling when they go and choose out their barrels. So we'll talk a little bit more about, barrel picks in the future, but it was really neat for me to try to taste some of those bourbons. I had actually never tried the Peerless, like I said, and they had put out some really, really good bourbons. So I was very pleased.
Ben had mentioned this before and told me that Peerless, which, you know what, maybe should have had this ready, but one second, I'll edit this.
I really wish I could see you guys on this.
Let me make a note to myself.
Jeez, I feel like I was rambling there for about an hour.
No, I felt the same way. I was telling Brendan, like, I wanted to mention social media at the beginning of the episode because I want people to go follow us, and then, I did the lineup, and then it was like kicking it to you. So no, I felt the same way. 834 fix Peerless bottle. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so we got into some Peerless. Ben was talking about this. They are not, I don't know, Brendan, how do you rate, this is, again, a free review for everybody. How do you rate this bottle? Look, label, scale of 1 to 10. What do you think about this bottle?
This is really embarrassing and only falling into Trey Rowland's theory on me being awkward. I can't see anything right now on my Zoom call. I can just see my books. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Oh, Brendan, I got you. The bottle and label are below average at best. They are not my favorite. That's not even being subjective. That's objective truth. They are not that great.
It's not the most exciting. I'll give you that, Ben. It's not the sexiest bottle of all time. And for a long time, I've been hyping Peerless to Ben for a while and telling him how great it is. And he's like, the bottle just looks like something you get at a gas station, like I'm not drinking that. Finally made him try it. And I would say, listen, you can't judge a bottle you can't judge a bourbon by its bottle, right? Like just because something is ugly doesn't mean that you shouldn't get it. Peerless is not especially cheap. It's not, for what you're getting at 110, 112 proof bourbon. It's not bad. We're not going to sit here and review the whole thing, but you're not getting a bad bourbon by any means. You can find this. This is a store pick from Gaspar's Liquor Shop. I've got 2 other store picks, one from Burns and one that was a Burns Davidoff collab. But it's a good product. You can find it for, I think I bought all 3 bottles at $63, right? So higher than our budget bourbons, but really, really good sipper. All of them really elite. And again, can't judge a bourbon by its bottle because Ben still hates the bottle, but he does love the juice that's inside of it. So I can at least say that I've converted him there. Right, Ben?
Yeah, really, really good bourbon. I was definitely turned the corner, but I just got to close my eyes when I'm drinking it.
We also got into some Basil Hayden, right? So that's a name that you will find at every local liquor store. Most bars that you go to are going to have Basil Hayden as well. They've got several different products. They've got a Basil Hayden. They've got just their standard bourbon. They've got a rye. They've got a dark rye. They've got a 10-year bourbon, and they've got a 10-year rye. Ben, our mistake may have been going from the Peerless to the Basil Hayden, but we were not very fond of the Basil Hayden. And I had the good ones. I had the 10-year rye and the 10-year bourbon. So I had like the ones that are supposed to be the best, and we didn't enjoy them, did we?
Yeah. The issue that I have with going to Basil Hayden is it's pretty much all proof. No matter what bottle you're buying, it's going to be bottled at 80 proof. And that's like the minimum line to be called bourbon. And so I think for the prices that you're paying for the bottle, at, I think the 10-year rye and 10-year bourbon were like $80 or $90. I would take 2 of the Peerlesses. I mean, that'd be a great deal, especially for my palate. I certainly don't want to, dissuade anyone from buying any kind of bourbon. Anyone who's drinking bourbon's, a friend of me, right? But I think there's just other better options. And if you just look by like the numbers, I think every year Drizzly puts out a list, and it's like they are in the top 10 most gifted bourbons every year. So a lot of people are buying them. A lot of people are using them to get into bourbon. So the more people we have drinking bourbon, the better. It's just not for me.
Yeah, it was a little weak. Again, not a full review here, but it wasn't fantastic by any means. We also were going from something that was 111 proof down to 80. So it was hard to pick up really anything on those at all. You're also going from a 111 to an 80, a 10-year 80. That's going to be even smoother, even more of the edges rounded off of it. But I will say the next night on Saturday night, I did pour myself some of the Basil Hayden bourbon, fresh palate, hadn't drank anything that day. And it was better than it had been the night before. So I will give them a little bit of a redeeming grace. We probably shouldn't have gone from 4 shots of massively proofed up bourbon down to the 80. It probably wasn't as bad as we thought, but still, it was, even trying it fresh that night, it was not very good compared to some other things that we've tried. And it is rather expensive. If you like Basil Hayden and you're okay with the price, keep drinking it, keep buying it, because that's the great thing about bourbon. You drink whatever you want. I don't care. It doesn't offend me if your taste is that of a 5-year-old. That is really okay. Brendan, what have been your experiences with Basil Hayden? Do you have many? Do you have any? What are your thoughts there and around them?
So the first time I had it was maybe a year and a half ago. My in-laws, so they're in upstate New York. We went up there for Christmas. And my mother-in-law was trying to get into bourbon. Like, she had this mission because some of her friends at work really liked it, and she knows I really liked it, so she got Basil Hayden's. It's like, oh, everyone's talking about this at work, so she got it. She hated it, but she also was like, yeah, bourbon, not for me. So that was my bourbon of choice that vacation, because it's what they had in the house pretty much. And it was, it was an 80 proof bourbon. It was fine, but for the price, what is it normally, guys? Like $50? Is a little bit less than that.
Just the regular Basil Hayden should go for like $37.95.
35? Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad.
All right. So even that, though, I felt like was not fantastic. But my dad recently got into bourbon, maybe in the last few months, and that was like the bourbon that really started it for him. He loved Basil Hayden. Now he's kind of graduated since then. So it kind of seems to be like in that beginning stage wheelhouse. I just think maybe, guys, I got into it a little bit too late into the game to really appreciate it as an entry-level bourbon.
Yeah, no, we talked about this, and we'll get into this again, another episode. We talked about it last week. Ben brought over 4 bourbons when I first got into it. One of them was Buffalo Trace, which we'll talk about later in the part 2 of this episode. One was a High West product. One was a Woodford product. And I am struggling to remember what the 4th one was, but it wasn't Basil Hayden. I'll say that. So, yeah, I just didn't, man, that's going to drive me crazy until I figure out what that was. But did not love the Basil Hayden. And I started out with stuff that was just a little stronger and better anyway. So don't love them. We should probably review it, and go in with a clean palate and talk about it, because it is in a budget range, and maybe it is good for people to get into bourbon. It's super easy to drink. But yeah, just did not love that. Brendan and I talked about like what we got into with bourbon this week. Do you have any exciting stories, anything that's happened with you, or is it all just kind of been shut down because of the COVID vaccine that you got?
We're not doing pursuit and purchases yet, are we?
No.
Okay, no. The COVID vaccine really kind of limited me this week, unfortunately. It was a boring week. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not bringing much to the table, but hey, I'm here now for you.
You are going ham on the
Bardstown.
On the Series 4, yeah.
Yes.
All right. So what I will let you get into, Brendan, is we're going to talk about the Buffalo Trace Distillery, the Sazerac company. We're going to spend a few minutes on this. Brendan, in 30 seconds, I want to know everything that there is to know about. No, not in 30 seconds. Tell us about the Buffalo Trace Distillery, the line. And then let's go around the horn and ask some questions about it and chat about it a little bit.
All right. So Buffalo Trace is a quintessential bourbon line. There's the Buffalo Trace Bourbon, which is considered like a really great standard bourbon for the price point. Maybe we'll get into that later. But Buffalo Trace has a ton of really extraordinary options at all sorts of prices. I mean, it goes from Buffalo Trace to Eagle Rare to the antique collection to Pappy Van Winkle's in that line now as well. As it originated, from my understanding is, and let's see if I can find it. I got this book called the Bourbon Bible. I've got all sorts of like different notes and it's like, remember those old Goosebump books, like where they would show like where you can jump from page to page and pick your own ending. Trying to figure out where Buffalo Trace Distillery exists and how it went to different variations over the years from like the 1800s to present day is just like a Goosebumps book. You can kind of jump all over the place, but basically it started in the 1800s. It was bought from the EEH. I have my notes here in front of me. George T. Stagg bought it, the OFC distillery, from E.H. Taylor. They ended up having a fallout like in the late 1800s. In 1904, George T. Stagg named it after himself, stayed that way until Sazerac bought it in 1992. Eventually, they name it Buffalo Trace. They start Buffalo Trace, basically the entry line bourbon. And so it has this crazy, weird history with very, very old distillery, obviously, but one that because of it created a lot of different names and budgets and brands as we know it today. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of Buffalo Trace. There's a lot to unpack there. We don't have a ton of time to get into it today, but yeah, Buffalo Trace is old and it's created a lot of bourbon over the years as we know it now.
Buffalo Trace is a distillery and a product that we will continuously talk about as we go. We could do 17 episodes on Buffalo Trace and still not even get to half of everything that they've done. So they will be one that we continuously talk about and chat about. Their line is fantastic. Their stuff is incredibly hard to get. In a lot of situations, even their like bottom of the line Buffalo Trace bourbon is really, really good and pretty tough to get. So anyway, Buffalo Trace will be something that we will talk about. What is something, Ben, I'll come to you first. What is something that you love about the Buffalo Trace lineup? What is, maybe a low end and a high end that you really, really enjoy from their lineup? Maybe one of each.
So one thing that I really respect about the Buffalo Trace distillery and just the Buffalo Trace line by itself is the hype beast that is Buffalo Trace Distillery. Name another bourbon brand that can get the cult following that will make it hard to find a $20 bottle of bourbon anywhere. And kudos to them for keeping MSRPs at what they are today. BTAC being the most difficult to find, excluding the whole entire Van Winkle line, which, we'll talk about later. But just BTAC being outrageously difficult to find.
What is BTAC for people who don't know?
Oh, sorry. Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, which is a 5-bottle series that was introduced in the year 2000, became such a hit that it drove popularity all the way down the food chain to Buffalo Trace, which is why it's hard to find. Now you can't go into any of the stores. Me and TJ about a week and a half ago went into a Winn-Dixie, and the lady behind the counter was basically trying to hide Buffalo Trace from us. And there's no other brand that can make it a rarity to hide a $20 bottle of bourbon. It's crazy.
How did she try to? Dude, I've had that with Blanton's at a Winn-Dixie where they tried to lie about it and hide it. Because I saw it in the back. I walked past the back door where they had like some of their stuff in storage, and I saw Blanton's, and I asked them about it. And the guy tried to tell me like it's not for sale because someone else had already purchased it. I'm like, well, I see it right there. I have money, and I got it for like $65, which is much better than the $120 spent on it we talked about last week. How did she try to hide it from you, Ben?
It was kind of behind the counter that we saw, and then she kind of kicked it behind the counter even farther out of sight. We called her on it, and she was like, "Nah, that wasn't it." And I said, "I think I know what a bottle of Buffalo Trace looks like." And she's like, "Oh, it's that was broken. The bottle was broken. We can't sell it to you." Okay, I was like,
I said the glass bottle was broken and the liquid wasn't coming out. Oh, well, the top of it was broken.
Oh my God.
"Yeah, it's different. Just the top, though."
And I said, you know what? You've already lied to me 3 times tonight. There's not a reason for me to ask you another question because you're just going to keep lying. And she's,
It's Buffalo Trace. It's a budget bourbon.
Ben would have bought the liter. I have, and we'll talk about it in the review. I have a liter, and I have a handle, and I have a store pick 750. I would not have bought that bottle that night. I just don't need it. Like I have enough to last me for 6 months. I don't need it at all. But Ben would have bought it, but I just didn't want to be lied to, right? Like that's the only thing I care about. It's just my pride.
And that goes back to what I was saying. There is not another distillery out there that can create such a movement out of their lower shelf product. It's amazing. And like I said earlier, I'll give it to Buffalo Trace for keeping MSRPs what they are. Even the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, if you go in there, MSRP is $100. And that bottle is well worth more than at least $250. And so they just put out great product. They don't ask a ton of money for it when you can find it at MSRP. That's not to say that liquor stores don't mark it up, but they stay true to their brand and they stay true to their prices. So that's what I love about Buffalo Trace.
What do you love about it, Brendan?
So I should have gone through some of the line earlier. I apologize for that, guys. So like in addition to Buffalo Trace, which is their standard anchor bourbon, they also have Eagle Rare, which is, if we're talking about what I love about it, like that might be my favorite bang for buck bourbon they have that you can kind of find sometimes at a crazy price. Like TJ, you did the dry January, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
So I did it kind of like I did 29 days, and it was just like it was that last Friday, and
it sucked in. It sucked ending on Ben did it with me. Ben and I both did it,
so
and it sucked that like you had to go through that last weekend, and you were off of it on a Monday. Who wants to be off on a Monday?
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, if this was February, I would have been good by now. We're good at this point. It's Friday. I'm not going to be drinking crazy on a Monday. So, anyways, my first bourbon back, and I'm kind of. After resetting that palate, I'm like going through some different bourbons. I'm opening up the bottles. I'm smelling them. I'm like, what do I want to drink? It was Eagle Rare. Was like the 4th or 5th one I came to. I'm like, that's it. To me, it is bourbon exemplified, just like cranked up a little bit with some uniqueness. I love Eagle Rare like at $30 or so. It's one of my favorite bourbons. It was one that I fell in love with pretty early on. But Buffalo Trace does so much great stuff. They have Colonel E.H. Taylor bottle and bond, the 10-year, like at like $40 to $50. If you can find it at that price, it's extraordinary. Their BTAC line, everything I've tried from it has been amazing. Pappy Van Winkle is now part of their line as well. They also have like Elmer T. Lee. Let's see, Blanton's I mentioned earlier.
Weller.
Weller. So many like. There's hype with it. Like Ben mentioned, there's the hype machine that it overblows it and makes it hard to get and it jacks up the price. But the reason why that hype has occurred is because the initial value for their bourbon and what is in the glass is really extraordinary typically. Like it's really consistent. It's really good. And there's like 4 or 5 different unique flavor profiles you can find, whether it's the wheated one, whether it's the mash bill 1, which is their low rye mash bill 2, which is the higher mash bill or higher rye mash bill. So there's a lot of variety to what they do. They do high proof, they do low proof. They're just really, really good when you can find some of their products.
Yeah, they're an absolutely quality, really, really good distillery that does a lot of things really, really well. They do the simple stuff well. They do the great stuff well. We're not even going to talk about this, but like, have either of you ever tried Wheatley vodka? Like when I buy my next bottle of vodka, like that will be what I buy because it's from their line, right?
I don't like vodka, TJ, but my buddy is a big vodka fan and was getting into bourbon a year or 2 ago. And I recommended that to him for like $19, $20. Mm-hmm. And he loved it. He said it was one of the best vodkas he's ever had. And even like he'd go out to brunch and he would see products with the Wheatley vodka. And apparently they make liquor stores buy the Wheatley vodka to sell the Buffalo Trace line bourbon stuff as part of it. But like, if you're a fan of vodka, apparently it's really damn good at a pretty reasonable price.
Yeah, I'm not a vodka guy. We don't make a lot of vodka drinks. It would be more of a, oh, we're making Bloody Marys for, Gasparilla, or, we're doing this or we're doing that. And so we go get a bottle of vodka. Yeah, otherwise, I don't really drink it either. But the next time that vodka is purchased in this house, it will be Wheatley Vodka because it's from their line. Ben, I know what yours is. Obviously, you know what mine is. So I'll let Brendan go first here. What's the biggest flex? Well, I think I probably know what Brendan's is too. What's your biggest flex of a Buffalo Trace / Sazerac product that you own? This is bourbon on a budget, but let's go the other way for a second.
Yeah, we're going to go the opposite of the budget here, but I didn't pay a crazy amount for it directly, and that was Pepe Van Winkle 15 year. I had the choice, and it was less than $200, which
that's good. It retails at 120. Yeah,
retail. So it's not crazy. I mean, I guess 80% or so, but still, it's you can see that for like $800 on the secondary market.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really amazing wheated bourbon. It's excellent, and it's one that I have half the bottle still. I've had it for a year and a half. I've only drank it by myself once when I first got it. My friend was like, hey, you can die tomorrow. You need to open it up and drink it right now. It was during the Mike Norvell coaching search where I'd finished off an article, was tired, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. But it's one that I've shared with friends. Every single time I have a neighbor come over, a friend come over, I'm looking forward to sharing it with my dad now that he's into bourbon. It's one that I've shared with every single person I've drank it with, other than the one time by myself, because it's exceptional. And obviously the name Pappy Van Winkle is pretty synonymous with quality in the bourbon community. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'll go next. And sorry, I was going to let Ben go, but your story kind of bleeds right into mine. Mine is, and I've got the bottle right here because I was going to, Brendan can't see it, but everybody else can.
I figured it out. I can see it now.
Very good. Bad. Yeah. So mine is a George T. Stagg. It's the 2020 edition. I can say this, and it's not hyperbole or prisoner of the moment or anything. It is the best pour I've ever had in my life. Without question. I've not had a million just amazing things, but it is the best drink I've ever had. I've opened it twice. The first time I had a sip of it, it was Ben, my buddy Johnny, and we poured my wife Kara some of it. And then I opened it up again on Sunday. My stepdad was over and we were trying different things. And I had talked to him a little bit about it, and I could tell he was kind of interested in it. And I finally just said, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to open it up. I didn't pour a lot. I poured both of us a little bit, and we both tried it. And I cannot tell you, it's kind of like one of those, how your dads are, right? Like, they're not going to tell you like, oh, I'm so proud of you, or that meant so much. But like, you can kind of tell how your dads are, we're so rough and gruff, but like, it meant so much to him for me to open up a bottle that the way I got it, it's probably a story for a different episode, but I ended up paying less than $100, like less than retail for it is kind of how it worked out in my situation. But a bottle that easily goes for $600, $700, $800 on the secondary market, it meant so much to him. And Ben and I watched the documentary and they talked about this. Bourbon and whiskey is to be drank. Mm-hmm. And I could let it sit up on my counter for years collecting dust, so that I can say I've got this bottle of this or that, but I'll never have another experience like I got to share with my stepdad again. So I'm the same way as you are, Brennan. When people come over, when friends come over, like, that bottle is to be drank, right? Mm-hmm. It's not, now I'm not going to pour people like 6 shots of it, but that bottle is for when people come over. That is what we should drink that, if you're into bourbon, like if you're drinking Miller Lights at my house, like you're just going to keep drinking Miller Lights. But if you're into bourbon, and I know you would have a relationship with you, like, don't just anybody be knocking on my door asking for a sip. But so same thing. My biggest flex.
You invited people over for the Peerless earlier though, so
Peerless is fine. Yeah,
I'll give Peerless.
Share that with everyone.
Yeah, $60 bottle, no big deal. But my biggest flex is that George T. Stagg. But I'm the same way as you. It's cool and it's fun to flex about things, but drink your whiskey with the people that you love and that you care about. Because it's just brown water. at the end of the day, right? Like you might drink the most expensive bottle of whiskey that exists on Sunday night, and you still have to get up and go to work the next morning. Like, right. Like your life goes on past this. So drink whiskey with the people you like. I said a lot to say a little.
That's what my buddy was like, he said, drink it because you could die tomorrow. Like when I was, and my wife was out of town for like 2 or 3 months. I was by myself. It was a coaching search, which is a really hectic time professionally for me. And it was lonely. Like my wife was gone, not to get too deep, but like my dog had passed away a couple months before. We weren't buddies then. Now here we are. Here we are. But so it was a time where I was lonely, and I was like, I don't know. I don't want to be drinking by myself too much. Like that's kind of a weird deal. But he was like, no, man, you could die tomorrow. Drink it now. And so I tried it then. I loved it. And I've shared it with people since. With that in mind, like that the idea, TJ, that you mentioned to share it with people that you love, read Pappyland by Wright Thompson. If you guys have not picked up the book, it's an extraordinary book, but it is not just about the legacy of Pappy Van Winkle and that family and the whole like bourbon boom, the collapse and the rise of bourbon. It's great, but also like the importance of like family and legacy. It's an awesome book, Pappyland, Wright Thompson. Sorry, I've said enough. Ben, what's your biggest flex with the Buffalo Trace line?
Yeah, I know what it is, Ben. So just go ahead and tell us. It's all good.
Yeah, I don't got any crazy stories. So I was able to acquire the Thomas H. Handy Sazerac Rye. And you're probably figuring, Ben, where did you get that? That's right. Costco. $89. Let's go. Grab that. And now it sits in my cabinet and just to be drank, like TJ said, with good people.
Yeah, we should definitely get back together on Friday night again this week because I consider myself a good person and I would love another sip of that. No, absolutely. Let's do this one a little quicker. I don't want to be on here too long with you guys tonight because I'm already kind of tired of you.
What?
But mostly Ben. But Brendan, you're a little awkward.
Sorry.
Trey.
Really quickly, if you could, the missing link of your Buffalo Trace collection, if you could add one bottle to your Buffalo Trace collection, Ben, would you be adding another Sazerac Rye? Like, what would your thing be, Ben?
So I had a son this past year on March 1st. And if I could get a bottle of Blanton's Gold with his birthday on it, that'd be pretty solid. Like TJ was saying, at the end of the day, if I get, say I want an Eagle 17, which is like premier at the Buffalo Trace line, but something that I could drink with my son at some point with his birthday on it would be pretty solid.
Yeah, I got a Blanton's Gold with my daughter's due date on it, which her due date was 8/27. Her birthday was 8/25 in the year of 2018. But that's a Saturday. They didn't dump on that day. So 8/27 was not only the first day they dumped that she was alive, it was also her due date. So I did get a Blanton's Gold with the date of 8/27/18. For those that don't know, every Blanton's has a letter on the top under the horse. My daughter's name is Elena, and the letter on it is A. So that's kind of special to me.
Pretty solid.
That's cool.
Yeah. I overpaid for it.
Yeah, that's right, baby.
But whatever,
we've all overpaid for a Buffalo Trace product at some point or other.
But it's also like I'm overpaying for something that I'm going to enjoy in 20 years, right? Or 19 years, I guess now. So mine will probably be the same as yours, Ben. Like, yes, I'd love Eagle Rare 17. I would love the antique Sazerac. I'd love Pappy 23. All of those things. I mean, of course, I'd add, but what I am, pursuit and purchases, what I'm looking for is that 6/16/20 bottle with a B on top. Like I want a B.
Yep.
Ben's son, his name starts with an O. And so obviously if Ben can find it with an O on top, that's the one he's going to go for. So I'm the same as you. Brendan, what's your one you're adding? Would you like one of our kids' birthdays on?
Yeah. No, just idea of raising a child in general is anxiety provoking.
Same.
But it only goes away. It doesn't go away at all. It's great.
Yeah, it still is for me too.
I don't have anything sentimental like you guys do, so I feel kind of lame. But like Eagle Rare would be awesome. The 17-year Eagle Rare would be one that I've had. The George C. Stagg, and I have a bottle of the W.L. Weller. and William LaRue and Pappy Van Winkle, the Thomas Handy Zaz. I don't need any rye in my life.
Get out of here
without it.
We're going to convert you. We need to bring that up. We need to talk about that. You're not the biggest rye guy.
No,
but we are going to convert you.
All right, we'll see. We got time. We got episodes to do that. We'll work on it. But so Eagle Rare 17. I love the Eagle Rare 10. So the 17 year I'm imagining would be exquisite. The 4-grain Colonel E.H. Taylor is one that got introduced right before I got into bourbon. Really, I went to a bar once from a birthday because I knew it was on their menu, and I got there and they said they didn't have it anymore. So I was really disappointed. I would love to try. I love Colonel E.H. Taylor, anything they've ever done. I'd like to try the 4-grain with the wheat involved in there. So that would be one that would be on my bourbon bucket list. And it's been on the radar for a while. I just haven't been able to even find just a sip or a pour of it. So that'd be my two, was Eagle Rare, the Colonel E.H. Taylor 4-grain.
I had an opportunity to get the Eagle Rare 17 for the modest price of $1,300, and I passed it up and did not end up getting it. But it's wild on the secondary market. Let's do a quick update on our Pursuit and Purchases trademark, registered trademark. I'm going to insert a Trey clip of him saying that. He's got a lot of shout outs on my pod tonight. Let's stop that. Pursuit and Purchases. Do we have any updates? Ben, you go first. What's going on here? Last week you said you were pursuing, if I remember correctly, a Wild Turkey rare breed foolproof rye.
Yep. I talked with a local store today. He said that he got 6 bottles like 2 or 3 months ago, and that his Wild Turkey distributor is going to be in next Tuesday. So I should be able to call back, and hopefully he can flex on his distributor a little bit and try to grab another one of those bottles.
At least get you an update. At least tell you like, oh, it's coming in 2 weeks. It's coming in here. It's
right.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Brendan, what about you? You have an update. You have a more fun update.
I'm super excited for this one. So last week when we talked, I mentioned the Smoke Wagon series. I was trying to get it completed between the straight bourbon and the uncut, unfiltered. In between there is the small batch, and I found the small batch. I got it online. They had a special offer. It was at MSRP, maybe even a little bit less, free shipping. So it's Smoke Wagon small batch. I have not received it in the mail yet, but it's supposed to be coming later this week. So next week, I will be able to give you guys a little bit of a review on it.
I'm excited for that.
Sample.
All right.
My update on my pursuit, I am in a lottery tonight for a Michter's Toasted Barrel bourbon. I have a 1 out of 10 chance of winning that. So 10%.
Ooh, all right.
So fingers crossed, by the time this airs, you guys will have flexed on social media with the drink, and I will have already drank it by the time this airs. But if you have seen that on social media, this was the night that I won it. If you haven't, I'll try another lottery some other time. Do you have anything new you're pursuing? Brendan, your pursuit got knocked off. Well, I mean, because you got it. You pursue anything new? Brendan, Ben, either of you?
I've had a great couple of weeks between the Smoke Wagon and this lovely Bardstown, which, by the way, fellas, is opening up into something pretty lovely and pretty extraordinary. Not to brag, but I got it at MSRP, about like $140. It's pretty damn close to being worth it. I'm just gonna throw that out there. So maybe sample.
Yes. Send it. Yeah, I showed up at a local store this week to try to buy a 175 Eagle Rare, only to find out that it was already sold out by the time I got there. So that's my only pursuit. It was a failure.
I think as we go along, we'll find that more of our pursuits are failures than we're cashing on. But that's what makes it fun. That the chase stays alive. Brendan, we had a couple of listener questions. Who had good questions this week? You can go with the first one. What question did you want to answer?
I had one from someone at my other work endeavor. But I don't want to specify where. But FSU 1129 asked me.
You're OnlyFans. You can just say it. Just go ahead with your.
No, you got to pay a little extra for this one. FSU 1129 asks, have you ever had Weller Foolproof? If so, do you like it? I haven't been able to find any. George G. Stagg. Well, join the club, dude. Like, it's tough to find. So I'm entertaining looking in the secondary market. So he's looking for something in the Buffalo Trace line that we talked about today. That's not quite as hard to find as some of the stuff from the BTAC collection. Weller Full Proof, excuse me. I haven't had Weller Full Proof, guys. I don't know if you have. I have a WL Weller. I have tried the Special Reserve, which is their kind of bottom line entry level weeded bourbon. 107 I've had, and I've had the 12-year Weller. I have not had the Full Proof. What I will say is that Weller doesn't do you wrong at the price point for any of them at MSRP. I don't know what the Full Proof is going to be like. I imagine it'll be pretty good for MSRP. However, if they're where you're getting it from is going to be jacking it up like 2-3 times the price, I can't advise one way or the other on that one. Have you guys tried it?
Their Full Proof MSRP is $50, so that's not bad at all, right? Like if you can,
that's amazing.
That, so if you could find it for that, I would say to go and grab it. I didn't love the Weller 12. Again, it was a $30 bottle though, so for the value, it wasn't bad. I do like the Weller Antique, the 107.
Mm-hmm. And the Special Reserve for $20, like if you can find it, it's a screw top one, but if you can find it, and I used to be able to find it, guys, like a year ago, all the freaking time, right? Wow. But now I can't find it at all, and I didn't love it, but like now it's gone, and I kind of missed it at $20.
So for the price, I think all of those are good. I mean, if you're looking for something comparable, I don't know what the proof on the Full Proof is. Something that you could go out and get. Probably a little easier to find, but not easy to find would be one of Ben's favorites if you're looking for something comparable, and that's going to be the Stag Junior. Ben and I both have bottles of the 14. Oh yeah, same, very similar proof. Ben and I both have the batch 14, which is really, really good. I've heard the batch 15 is even better. I'm waiting on my bottle of that. Where you at, Rick Cooper? So waiting on batch 15 to come in, but Stag Junior might be a good option. It's not weeded, right? Stag's not a weeded bourbon, so it's going to be a little different there, but another high proof offering from Buffalo Trace that is really, really good. Similar MSRP. I believe the MSRP on Stag Junior is $55. You can find it on the secondary market for around $100, $115, $120. I'm not going to recommend that people buy secondary market prices, but it's kind of like you get what you pay for at times. So if it's something that you're really heart set on finding, the Weller Full Proof is going to be around the same price secondary market, I would think. Brendan?
One of my buddies used to get the Stag Junior before like the last, I think batches like 12 through 14. You guys said you have 14. I think I got the 12, or was it the 13? Either way, it was one of the more recent ones where it's gotten pretty damn good. Before it used to drink really hot, he would actually take the Weller Special Reserve and the George T. Stags when it was like back in the 7 and 8 batch and combine the two of them.
See that?
And that would probably get you kind of to the Weller Full Proof kind of vibe there, where you get the wheat integrated into the high proof. So just if you can find both of those, you get a little creative and not pay a crazy amount for Weller Full Proof.
Because go ahead.
I think another great substitute there would be a Larceny barrel proof that would get you in the weeded line at a barrel proof product. So if you like the weeded of Weller, Larceny is also the same option. So look for Larceny.
It's extraordinary too, dude. The first batch, it's good call, Ben. It's amazing. It's maple syrup pancakes. It's extraordinary.
So I have a bottle of that. We haven't cracked it yet, but sounds like Ben and I know what we're drinking on Friday night, though.
Mm-hmm. Friday night.
But yeah, Ben, I know we'll have him talk about another one. We're kind of running over time here, but Ben is a huge fan of the Stag Junior. But great call there on the weeded Larceny BP. Another question we got, and I wanted to get you guys' take on this, and then we'll roll out of here really quickly. We started a podcast a week ago, and we're on our second episode now. And I love this question. It's a two-parter. I'll get into the second part in just a moment. What do you think? Why did you guys agree to do this? What do you think will differentiate our bourbon show from an already very saturated bourbon market?
So I don't know. Okay. So what I wanted to accomplish when we created this show was to basically figure out value for bourbon. I think that's kind of what sets us apart. Some different YouTube channels are kind of sifting that out a little bit. But mostly everyone's just kind of doing reviews, I think, for the most part. And they talk about the quote unquote value at the end of the episode and whether to buy it or not. This is taking that into account throughout the entire time we're talking about it, whether it's on this main podcast, which is kind of us three talking around or a little bit, or doing the review section of the episodes and the video and podcast, or however you're listening or watching this. I know there's a couple different mediums. So that's what I think sets it apart a little bit, is we're all the same age. We have similar income levels. We're all similar points in our lives, although I don't have kids, so that changes things up just a little bit, I would imagine. But more or less, we're all kind of trying to follow a passion. We love bourbon while not breaking the bank. So hence bourbon on a budget. I think that distinguishes us just a little bit.
What do you think, Ben?
Yeah. So I think what Brendan said earlier was really strong about his drinking his Pappy by himself only once. And what TJ was saying earlier about drinking with a stepdad, bourbon is communal. Bourbon is social. It's an opportunity to kind of relax and just hang out with some friends. And so what we're going to be doing here is giving you an opportunity to go and buy a bottle of what we're going to be reviewing later this week. We want you to sit down, open the bottle, and drink with us. See if you're pulling out the same tasting notes that we are. See if you get the same nose that we are. And if not, man, we got plenty of social media for you to tell us how we're wrong. But like Brendan was saying, it's not meant to be drank alone. And if you're looking for someone to hang out with for a little bit, we would love for you to hang out with us and relax.
I love that answer, because it's been one of the coolest things that I have thought about through the time that we've been doing this and through the planning and everything that's gone into it. Again, I watch review shows on YouTube when I get a new bottle. I go and grab the bottle, I crack it, I pour it into a glass, and then I watch a review show because I want to know if the tasting that I'm picking up is the same. I want to pick out. Many people listening to this are more experienced in bourbon than I am. And so I'm not the expert, and Ben's not the expert, and Brendan's probably the best, but he's not the expert either, but
how dare you, TJ? Sorry, did I make this awkward, Trey? Sorry, continue.
Oh my God, he's got like 4 shout outs this episode. Like, let's go. He'll have to bring back the rollcast for a week just to like combat all these shout outs. So yeah, no, that's what I want people to do. Now, I know that it's probably unreasonable for us to ask you guys to go buy a $30 bottle every single week that we review something. But if you're new into bourbon and you're wanting to know like how to get into things, that's what we're here for. We're not here to review, and I'm not saying that we'll never do it, but we're not here to review a 600 secondary market bottle of George T. Stagg and a $2,000 bottle of Pappy 20 or whatever. We're here to review things that people can drink on a budget, enjoy for a good price, and enjoy with people they care about. When Ben and I get together, yeah, there are times we crack really good things, but there are other times that we just crack like $30 bottles and just enjoy it. Ben was so excited for me to get to his house a couple of weeks ago and crack a $20 bottle of Old Tub, and so it's not, the price is the price, right? Like, you're going to pay what you pay, but man, it's just about being with good people and having a good time. And that's what we want to do with people, is we want to engage. We want to be interactive. Because of Brendan and I's affiliations and what we do, obviously we know we're going to run into a lot of people that are college football fans in the state of Florida. And that's kind of where our base is probably going to start. But we want to expand past that. And we just want to interact and engage with people and drink good and bad and mediocre and all kinds of bourbon with you guys, and then talk about it. Like, that's really where we want to be different than other people. And if other people are doing that already and they're doing it well, then that's great. That's totally fine. But we want to do that with you guys as well. And so that's kind of our goal and our mission. Brennan, this one for you specifically. What market is more saturated, the FSU football podcast market or the bourbon podcast show market?
Oh God.
Since we both do competing, I wouldn't say competing at all, but like we both do FSU podcasts. We're big rivals outside of bourbon, guys. Brendan and I sent hate texts all day to
all the time. I mean, the FSU market per capita has got to be, podcast wise, so extremely saturated that people who are FSU fans probably don't have enough time to listen to every single podcast there is on FSU football per week. It just doesn't exist. So I would say FSU probably skews more than bourbon. Even there's a lot of bourbon stuff out there. There's people across the country who love bourbon. So yeah, FSU fans, if you do like podcasting though, you have your share of options on the bench. Excuse me, what?
I don't want to. Oh, I just had to wipe my face off real quick.
Big TJ's got T-shirts that he could sell. Oh my God!
We have sold more to my family than anyone else, and by sell, I just eat the cost of those. So, guys, this was another fantastic episode. We are going to be reviewing later this week Buffalo Trace. We talked about it. This is Brendan's pick of Buffalo Trace. Brendan, do you want to give us a real quick snapshot of Buffalo Trace, and then we will get out of here for the night?
All right, here's Buffalo Trace. It is from the Buffalo Trace Distillery, also part of the Sazerac brand. It is 90 proof, 45% ABV. Can you guys see this okay? It is about $20 to $25 a bottle. I've always felt like this is a pretty extraordinary value, but we're about to put our palates together and figure it out.
We will put our heads together and see how.
Is that weird?
I don't know.
Palates together, it seems weird. I'm sorry, guys.
Let's not touch tongues.
Damn you, Trey! One more time.
Excited to review the Buffalo Trace and get into that. Do you guys have any closing thoughts, or should we wrap this thing up and go home for the night?
Wrap it up, baby.
Wrap it up. This has been a fun one.
I am glad we made it through an entire episode without talking about sucking on any bottle nipples. But other
we
than
did
that,
it. Oh, we just missed it.
So close.
Other than that, I think we've had a fantastic time. I've enjoyed drinking with you guys. And until next time, hope you've enjoyed Bourbon on a Budget. Go follow us on social media, and we will see you guys later.